Hello, everybody. This is Gino Johnson, CEO of Champions for Veterans, and I am pumped and excited for today's guest on our Convos with Heroes podcast, where we love to talk to heroes who are doing amazing things. But of course, before I get going with our amazing guest for today, I want to go ahead and say hey to my dad. Hey, Dad, how you doing?
Hey, I'm doing great, y'all. Listen, I'm so fired up to talk to Joe. We've been doing the pre-talk, and I had to shut it down so we could do the recording talk. We got a great American hero today, man, and I can't wait to jump into the conversation.
Love it, love it. Absolutely, absolutely. Well, let me go ahead and tell our viewers a little bit more about Joe before we get to the conversation. So, Joe joined the Army in 2000 at the age of 18 as a forward observer. First tour to Iraq was 2004 as a forward observer, and in 2006 at the rank of E6 was selected for Warrant Officer Program Flight School. He did 2 tours in Iraq, 08, 09, and 2011 as AH-64D Pilot / Pilot in Command. He did 1 tour in Afghanistan in 2014 as an AH-64E Pilot in Command / Air Force Air Mission Commander and Maintenance Test Pilot, and he medically retired in 2017 due to kidney failure. Just finished getting his BA in business with an emphasis in marketing and entrepreneurship. He's currently working as COO for BoneFrog Coffee. So excited to get this conversation going with you, Joe. How you doing, sir?
I'm doing great, and I'm so thankful to be on this podcast. I mean, I just love what you guys are doing, and yeah, I appreciate how you're just spreading wisdom around the world. I think the world of you guys, and so humbled to be invited here.
Well, Joe, you know we're pretty excited, man, to be here, and we told you we're just gonna kick and have a conversation like 2 old vets, and my son will keep us straight as we go. He'll keep us straight, man. Look, I want to jump into it, brother. We kind of had a good conversation before we started to record, but take me back. Let's talk about your life, okay? Take me back to where you grew up, join the military. Give us your story, and we'll get into the combat stuff a little bit and flying helicopters and the bone frog. We'll jump into all of that, but tell everybody your story.
Yeah, well, born in 1981 in my house in a small farm community just north of Fort Collins, Colorado. So it's always interesting to think that you were born in the house that you grew up in. It's kind
Right.
of not really normal these days. Everyone goes to a hospital, but my parents were unique. They're kind of that off the grid type people before being off the grid was cool. And they had a unique way of doing things. Both of them were kind of that starving artist approach to life. And my dad was a photographer. My mom was an oil painter. And you kind of grow up in a unique experience, experiencing unique things with that mentality. Because,
Right.
one thing that I got was use your imagination. And
Mhm.
so, my parents would always, if I said I was bored, they'd be like, "Oh, I got something for you to do." And they would have me go out, and they'd have me, obviously, planting gardens or doing some of the manual labor around the house. But at the
Mhm.
same time, they'd always challenge my imagination to just, challenge the limits of my brain, really. Always think of things in different perspectives, always look at things in different ways, and
Mhm.
realize that no matter what you do, shoot for the stars, because in reality, it's those who shoot for the stars that make change. It's those
Mhm.
who believe in perseverance that are able to overcome. And
Right.
so that was really instilled, in an early age.
Mhm.
Unfortunately, parents divorced early on, which kind of threw me off a little bit
Yeah.
to begin with.
Mhm.
And so I kind of adopted some abnormal coping skills. Wasn't quite the cool kid on the block, but at the same time was very fortunate to go through all
Mhm.
these experiences, because I had to learn how to persevere at an early age.
Right.
School was not my thing. I'll be real. Like,
Right.
I didn't learn how to read until roughly 7th grade. And when I mean read, this is like, Susie walked the cat type reading. They didn't know it at the time, but didn't really find out until later on that I was dyslexic. Actually, it wasn't until after my military career that I found out I was dyslexic, which
Right.
is a wild story. because you would think flying a helicopter, you'd kind of need to be able to see everything in sequence. But with that, getting through school was a challenge. I graduated high school with a 1.9 GPA. It was 2000, and I didn't know what I wanted to do with my life. I wanted to be disciplined. I wanted to be tough. I wanted to be able to say I did something, because just sitting around in Fort Collins, Colorado wasn't it for me. And so I joined the Army, age of 18, as a forward observer with the airborne option. I had to face my fear. I'll be honest, I was terrified of heights. And so I figured to become tough, I had to face my fear.
Okay.
And so I signed on the dotted line, and one thing my dad taught me is, if you get in line, you have to go through the ride. You can't get out
Wow.
because you gave your word.
Yeah.
And so
Yeah.
one of those moments, and I remember taking my contract back to my dad, and he's like, "Are you serious? Like, you're Joe, do you know what you just signed up for?" And I was like, "No, I have no clue, but I'm gonna find out."
Right. Yeah.
And so
Yeah.
did a basic and AIT at Fort Sill, Oklahoma, and then off to Fort Benning, Georgia, home of the brave. And that was my first real experience in the military, was overcoming my fear of height
Wow.
while
Wow.
and the funny thing is that 30-foot tower, I think, was the scariest part of the whole adventure. I mean,
Right.
you get into a plane, it's a whole nother perspective. It didn't seem that high to me in the plane. Boy, that
Yeah.
30-foot tower, I about peed my pants.
Yeah. Yeah. It's funny, having this conversation with you, because definitely, going to Fort Benning, Georgia, that's where, for the people that don't know, it's not military. That's where they send you to learn how to jump out of airplanes, Fort Benning. And they got a tower they put you on. And like Joe was saying, it's pretty scary because you're up there with a harness on and instructors, and they literally push you out of this tower, and it's 30 feet in the air, and you come down, ropes dangling, and you're seeing people dangling through the air as you're going up. You see them getting kicked out of the tower, and
Yep.
that part is scary. Now,
Yep.
I will agree that because you gotta go up some, climb up, then you hear these people climbing 1,000, 2, 1,000, 3, 1,000, and it's like you hear this going on. There's a lot of noise going
Oh,
on and
yeah.
people screaming and stuff. It's like, oh my God, what am I doing going up to the top? I didn't get that kind of fear when I first jumped. I really didn't. But you're absolutely, and it's funny. God, that was over 30 years ago when I went to jump school. But you're having this conversation where you was making me realize how scared I was climbing up the tower,
Oh,
and
yeah.
I was pretty cool jumping.
Yeah. Oh, it's amazing. And it was really my first wake-up call to having to overcome.
Wow.
Because I could have sat there, and I could have got out of line. I could have done a lot of things, but the
Right.
reality is that I didn't want that. And like I said, I joined to be tough. I joined for discipline. I joined because I knew that if I really wanted to achieve my goals in life, if I wanted to become that person that was able to shoot for the stars, I had to face my fear. And so
Wow.
you're going up those stairs, and you're hearing it. I mean, and it wasn't like that was a soft, little bounce at the end of that when the static line caught. It was a jolt.
Right.
And you're going down the zip line, and you're just dangling there going like, what am I doing? But with that, it was that wake up call that I can, and I'm going to.
Yeah.
And
Right.
so it was pretty cool because early on, kind of growing up with the challenges I did, and dyslexia is dyslexia, but the reality is you got to find ways through it. You got to find ways to adapt. You got to find ways to overcome, because you're not learning in the same way that the education system wants you to learn. And so if you can't fit into their mold, they kind of kick you to the side.
Yeah.
And for me, that wasn't okay. And so I didn't want to be kicked to the side. I wanted to be something.
Yeah.
And it's
Mm.
those lessons in life that you really gain appreciation for, because you realize that, because today I love who I am. I love
Yeah,
what I'm doing. I've loved what I've accomplished. I'm so thankful for everything.
yeah,
But it was
yeah.
those lessons that really helped me define who I am today.
Crazy, man. So you
Yeah.
make it through jump school.
Yep.
Were you assigned airborne? Did you come to Fort Bragg, or where did you go after jump school?
Well, the Army and their infinite wisdom. As soon as I finished with jump school, they sent me to Fort Hood, Texas. Yeah.
Let me explain that. We get a lot of civilians watch this and won't understand that. So I got to civilianize this, right?
Understand.
There's not an airborne unit at Fort Hood, Texas. So they sent him to jump school to jump out of airplanes. Normally you'll get an assignment, say Fort Bragg, North Carolina, one of the Ranger battalions, or, you'll go overseas to the airborne unit overseas. You may get attached to special forces some kind of way, but not Fort Hood, Texas. This is Army thinking, and it's crazy, but we got to get into that part. So you go to jump school to jump out of planes. You got 5 jumps on your belt. You think you're going to go to an airborne unit, and they send you to a mechanized tank unit at Fort Hood, Texas.
That's
what happens when you get there?
Well, when I get there, they send me over into these, these computer classes on basically how to control the artillery for the battlefield.
Right.
They trained me how to call in CAS. They trained me how to, do all the big guns, the ATACMs and the naval stuff. And then they put me at a headquarters.
Mm-hmm.
And so, it was an interesting first couple years there, because instead of getting the tactical on the ground education, I got the big core education where I'm working with the 3-star, 4-star generals. I'm going to South Korea and I'm learning all of the strategic plans for there, and how we would operate over there and what our artillery plans would be. And the big one was Millennium Challenge. This happened in 2002. Obviously, 9/11 had occurred.
Mm-hmm.
Afghanistan was starting to kick off. More than kick off, it was going.
Yeah.
And I get sent to Norfolk, Virginia for this exercise. And in this exercise, I mean, it's FORSCOM, it's everybody. I'm meeting the president, I'm meeting all these, congressional members. And it wasn't until looking back that I realized that we were wargaming the invasion of Iraq. And so again, I get this real high level strategic view of how the military works, how logistic works, how artillery works, how maneuver works. And it was, again, the stars aligned the way the stars aligned. It might be fate, it might be coincidence. I couldn't tell you. I think it was a little too coincidental for it to just be random. But the reality is that I got this incredible education on what the top brass in the military is thinking, and how they use the resources they have to take our boys, overseas, have them conduct the mission, have the mission be successful, and get them home.
And one of the things, let me jump in here real quick, Joe. It's amazing. I'm listening to you. I'm hearing your whole story, brother. Dyslexia, didn't learn to read the 7th grade, but now I'm hearing about critical thinking skills. I'm hearing about what you learn in the military. And I want you to kind of talk about this a little bit, man. It's a fascinating conversation. I too was basically a CD student. I finished at the bottom of my high school class, the bottom. I was in the bottom of my high school class. Not like my son with a CPA and accounting. I'm not that guy. I finished at the bottom of the class, right? If you look me up in the yearbook, I would probably been the most likely guy to not even make it out of high school, less known going to become a Green Beret. So I get it, right?
Yeah.
But it's fascinating hearing your story. I want to know, as you're growing, because you understand, from not reading to 7th grade to now you're in a room with generals and you learn all this strategic stuff. Did you ever look at yourself and do like me? I'd be in the middle of Puerto Rico and the Ranger Battalion, Bolivia and Green in the Special Forces, and be like, I'm doing stuff that John Wayne did in the movies. It's almost like I'm living in a movie. You're flying. We're gonna get to attack helicopters. We'll get there in a minute. But did you ever go, is this me? I mean, come
Yeah.
on, talk to me about that.
Oh, I had to pinch myself sometimes. It was so surreal, and it
Yeah,
was, life was happening so fast. I mean, I'm 19, 20 years old at this time,
yeah,
and so I'm still, maturing and trying to figure out just who I am in the world around me. But at the same time, I'm sitting in these situations, in these CPs, command posts,
yeah,
and I've got all this, just I've got this, the world's greatest military operating in its most efficient ways, in effective ways, and I'm hearing the conversations of really General Bell. General Bell was probably the most influential one that I worked with. um just hearing him talk and hearing his logic and hearing how, I mean, he was a strategist. I felt like I was, sitting with just this legend, and being able to just be in his presence was allowing me to absorb, an intelligence that most people don't even know exists.
right,
And
right.
so, it's, looking back, it's just wild. It's like,
Mhm,
how did I end up there?
mhm,
What stars had to align for this to occur?
yeah,
And when it did, I didn't take it, I didn't appreciate it as much as I wish I would have. But
right.
at the same time, looking back, I'm so thankful for it, because
Wow.
it's changed my life.
So you go, you make that assignment. You're an enlisted person. And for the people that don't, again, I like to civilianize our videos sometimes because everybody's not Army. If I use a lot of acronyms, people won't understand it. So I like to kind of civilianize our videos. So you're an enlisted soldier at that particular time. Let's kind of jump into, first of all, to go from being enlisted to a warrant officer. Warrant officer is like in between the NCO, the non-commissioned officer, and becoming an officer. So first, you had to have a belief, coming from a guy that could not read. I go back to that. Now
Yeah.
you're in, but now not only do you say, you know what, I guess what, I'm big and bad enough to fly an attack helicopter. That's a major chasm. That is like saying, I'm playing high school ball now. I think I can make it to the NBA,
Yeah.
which is, that's basically what we're talking about. Talk about the mindset of wanting to fly, even believing you can make it through flight school, because I know a lot of people don't, because of everything required to make it through to fly a helicopter. Talk
Yeah.
about the mindset of that and moving forward.
Well, the first thing is that, after my first tour in '04 to Iraq, I came back and it was two options for me: special forces or aviation. My
Yeah,
grandfather was a B-24 pilot, and I never met him. Unfortunately, he passed before I was born, but his legend just looms in my family. He's he was the one that we all looked up to, because he
right.
flew over in the Pacific Theater, World War II.
Yeah,
And growing up, like I said, Michelangelo, the artist, he had a quote that really resonated with me, and it's, the human atrocity isn't those who shoot for the stars and fall short, it's those who shoot for the top of a hill and achieve it. And so for me, it's
hold
like,
on, stop, Joe. Wait a minute, stop, man. You can't say that one time because I didn't really get it. Go back and say that again.
okay,
Let me get that again.
okay, so the human atrocity is not those who shoot for the stars and fall short, but those who shoot for a top of a hill and achieve it. Don't limit yourself. And that's, I first came across that quote, and now you look it up, it'll be slightly different. I had to
Yeah,
personalize it,
yeah,
but I started saying that quote to myself when I was 13. And I'm going through the things that I'm going through, and it was like, I'm not going to limit myself. And so, I get back from my first deployment. It's like special forces. I know I can do that. I can grind it out. I can grind this one. And
right.
it's not easy. I'll tell you what, it's not easy. But I can run. I can ruck. I can do the push-ups. I can do that. But aviation was that, shooting for the stars. And so I put in my aviation packet. I was over in Hawaii as a platoon sergeant, for Charlie Company 235 Infantry,
Mhm.
and uh, and we were getting ready to go on a deployment, and it came back that I got selected. it was crazier than crazy. I was just like blown away. I was like, there's no way that I'm going to get selected. And I come back selected. First time go. And I take it to my commander, and my commander's like, you are going on this. There's no questions. You are now off the deployment. You are going to this course because the Army needs you here. And that was really hard for me because I've been training with my guys. This is my team. I love these guys. I mean, this was my family.
Yes.
And to have that curveball come, you know, again, it happened for a reason because I go over to flight school, and man, it you know, it's kind of hard to say this, but the person who took my spot, Luton's, unfortunately didn't come home in Kirkuk, and it's, you know, it's a heavy weight. It's one of those ones where you know, everything happens for a reason, and so when that, because I was 2 weeks into flight school when that whole situation happened, and that was just a deeper desire. It's like, no, I'm making the most of this flight school. I'm gonna live. I'm gonna get through this, and I'm gonna become the best pilot I can, because of Josh Luton's and Josh D's, two incredible humans, incredible Americans that gave everything for our country, and
no doubt.
And so that was kind of the motivating factor. Wildly enough, I did really good in flight school and graduated, you know, honor grad in my class, and was able to choose whatever helicopter I wanted to fly.
Wow.
So I picked the hardest one. One, because I love the mission. There's nothing more, I'm going to use the word intimate, than a helicopter coming in. You know, when those boys are on the ground facing the reality of what they're facing, and then you hear that radio crack, and there's a helicopter inbound. Weapons hot. And so
when you know, when you know, I'm getting chills just even listening, man, because when you're in those situations and you call for fire, you call for a helicopter, it's like, you know, if we don't get help, we're done. You know, we need somebody to come crest the hill and you put some steel on target, like right now. And that's the kind of stuff you did, brother. So talk to the people about the helicopter that's behind you, for the folks that don't know what that is. And, you know, 1 man, 2 man, just learning to fly that machine, brother. I mean, just tell us a little bit about it.
Oh, you know, to me, it's the greatest achievement of human engineering. This helicopter is the most lethal helicopter in the world. And what we do is while people are running from the fight, we run into it. And the reality is it's 2 people in the helicopter, a co-pilot gunner in the front seat, a pilot in command in the back seat, and we fly around in packs, a team of 2 typically, at least for the asymmetrical operations that we were facing in Iraq and Afghanistan. That was our tactics. We typically fly, you know, 3,000 or below. And what we're here for is to make sure, you know, to really fight the close in fight, and make sure the men and women on the ground that are wearing the American flag, or our allies, are getting home. We'll also do a lot of, you know, to make sure that any enemy combatants or disruptors out there, our presence will alter their way of thinking because of how effective we are with our weapon systems. It holds 3 weapon systems. We have our folding fin rockets, 2.75 millimeter folding fin rockets, which have different types of ordnance, from illume to point detonating to flechette rounds. We have our Hellfire missile, which is our precision munition. We can reach out and touch people, and they won't even know we're there with that one. And then we have, typically the pilot's favorite weapon is the 30 millimeter cannon underneath our nose, which is tethered to our eye. And as I turn my head, the weapon will literally turn with that, and what I'm looking at, it will engage. You know, it's
Mm.
the team, though. Speaking of the helicopter, you have to talk about the team, because the pilots are amazing, but it's the guys on the ground that keep that helicopter going, that launch us, our crew chiefs, our maintenance.
Mhm.
It's those that are the unsung hero that
Mhm.
allow us to go up and fly this incredible weapon system
Mhm.
on the battlefield. And they never stop working, either
Mhm.
in the civilian when they're back in the rear, or when they're pressed forward in a fob.
Wow.
It's 24 hours a day, 7 days a week of work on this helicopter.
Oh yeah.
And
Yeah.
we do with this thing is unbelievable. We'll get in some stories.
Yeah.
We'll talk
Yeah.
about that in a minute, but
Yeah.
the
So
reality
wow,
is,
man.
yeah,
I'm blown away, of course, being around, Spec Ops, Task Force 160,
yeah,
uh, and just seeing, let me just tell you, as you talk about how impressed you were, the stuff that I've done, uh, watching what the pilots do with those birds has always been fascinating to me, mind blowing. Because when you're serving and you land in the middle of somewhere at night and there's telephone wires everywhere, and you got your I'm about to say no, it's night vision devices on. I'm trying to civilianize it. You almost
yep,
got
yep.
me going with all these words.
Oh, my bad.
And you wake up in the morning and you go, how did they get this helicopter in here? What
Yeah.
did they do, man? So look, jump to this for a minute. Let's talk about. So you finally make it back.
Mhm.
Uh, you decide to get out of the military. Talk
Wasn't a
about.
decision I wanted.
I know, brother. Look, I retired at 20. It wasn't
Yeah,
the decision I wanted. Had my back not gotten out, I would have done 30 years. I
yeah.
tell everybody, I
Wow.
retired E8. My goal was to make Sergeant Major, be the first, black Sergeant Major of the Army. I wanted to do that, didn't make that. So I get it. And I did 20 years and retired, but I did not want to retire
Yeah.
because I enjoyed being a Green Beret. I enjoyed being a Ranger. I enjoyed doing what I did. I always thought it was like some straight out of a movie. And to be able to serve with people like you in that capacity, to me, was like, wow. And then trying to find yourself, I want to get into that, because Joe, this is what I understand. Hear me out.
Yep.
I'm listening to your story, but this is what I know about you. You're a hard charger, go getter. You want to serve your country. You did that. But people don't understand the psychological difficulty of going from 150 miles an hour flying an attack helicopter to being a civilian, because you're flying a multi-million-dollar aircraft. You're given responsibilities that most people here would never even understand. Then all of a sudden, the next day, you're a civilian.
Yeah. That's not an easy transition. It's, you know, uh, so like I said, I didn't want to get out. I never was told exactly why, but I had dual kidney failure. And it was basically, you got to have your kidneys working if you want to fly your helicopter. And we'll put you behind a desk, or we can retire you now. And I was at 17 years of service. I wanted to hit my 20. I didn't want to give up my helicopter because that was my identity. I mean, to be
Yeah.
very honest, that's who I was. Kind of, as you know, my backstory, that was that discipline. That was that shooting for the stars. This is everything I wanted to do. I mean, to this day, I miss my helicopter. I miss her so much. Um, and so when I finally had to say goodbye, I didn't know who I was. And yeah, oh, I had no clue. I mean, I put everything in. The op tempo that we've been going from, 2000 to 2017, the op tempo was nuts.
Right.
We're either training, we're in combat, we're getting back from combat. I've got a couple months to, kiss my family, tell my kids
Yeah.
I love them before I need to go back over to
Yeah.
NTC, JRTC. And we're doing 3-4 rotations there a year when we're in the back or in the rear. And so, you know, it wasn't easy. I'll be honest with you. It was, it was, it was really, really hard. And so I kind of, you know, I became depressed. I became angry. I became, I became bitter. I became, I just, I felt wronged. And now that was my own perception. That was my own, you know, mental negative tapes going on at the time, because nobody wronged me. It's no, and I don't want it to come off that way at all. But when I'm really reflecting back at that moment, because I
You know,
just, I couldn't understand.
let me say this, Joe, and it's kind of like you're talking, but you're talking for me because it's what a lot of vets feel, right?
Okay.
Um, you know, same thing with me, man. You know, I did 20 years in. I went in at 17, retired at 37.
Mhm.
And I can remember I had a great retirement service. My mom came, my grandmom came, members of my family. It was great. They came all the way from Texas to Fort Bragg, North Carolina. We had a big thing that day. It was wonderful. The whole weekend, my family was there.
Yeah.
Monday morning, I got up and didn't know what to do,
Yeah.
didn't know who I was
Yep.
outside the military.
Yeah.
And I was the guy that said this wouldn't happen to me. You
Yeah.
know, I saw it happen to other guys I knew that retired, and
Yep.
we laughed and joked, and well, it's not going to be like me, brother. These guys are lifers. I'm not going to be like that, and blah blah blah. Guess what? I was just like that.
Yeah.
And,
I was the
and
same.
I was a basket case, and I tell everybody, it took me 2 years. This is what we're going to transition. It took me 2 years to get my footing. Like, who am I outside of this uniform? Who am I? Because my whole career, I was either a drill sergeant, a
Mm.
ranger, a green beret. I put that uniform. It stood for respect. It stood for honor. It stood for discipline. Everywhere I went, people knew that. Now I'm in civilian clothes. People don't know me from Adam, and who am I, right?
Yeah.
And it took me finding a new mission, okay, which for me was prison ministry, motivational speaking, speaking
Yeah.
in schools to kids, getting
Yep.
that Ranger Johnson persona back out there in
Yep.
a different way. Talk to us about, you know, your BoneForg coffee. Give
Yep.
us that, what you guys are doing. Give us that, what it did for you, the
Yeah.
mission change, your mindset. Walk us in that piece.
Absolutely. You know, and with that, you know, I do want to say that, you know, faith really was what helped me get through. It was
Yeah.
a bumpy road, and there were many nights where I'm I'm yelling at God, but with that, he never left me.
Right. Right.
And so I gained purpose in school.
Right.
I started to really wonder how people rationalize the irrational, and it gave me this real interest into marketing. It gave me this real interest in the human mind, and more on the neuro side of things. And so I
Got
started up. I did the one thing I was always told I wasn't smart enough to do: go to college and graduate. And I walk across the stage in less than a week. And yeah, I know. I'm telling
All
you,
right.
I'm
Congratulations.
pumped about that. Went to the University of Washington,
Yeah.
and then got connected with a group of guys up here in Washington. It's holy smokes, and and they just started really showing me purpose. They really started helping me, you know, discover who I am, and help me discover who I am in here, not on the accolades or the ribbons or the profession or anything like that. And so when I gained stability of who I actually am, what I like to do, what I enjoy in life, then I really was able to find purpose again. And my purpose is helping people persevere. That's what I
Yeah.
do. That's what I love. That's what I talk about. It's about the small victories, because perseverance, you know, we all want the big victories, but the reality is you have to have the small victories to achieve those big ones.
Yeah.
And so
Wow.
I talk with veterans, and then I came across Tim Kirkshank. He's a former Navy SEAL, retired, did 25 years in the teams. One of the best guys I know, and he has this startup called BoneFrog Coffee. And to give a little background about what the BoneFrog is, it's an iconic Navy SEAL symbol that represents those from the team that sacrificed everything for our country and for our opportunities here.
Right.
And so Tim had this idea at his retirement ceremony that he wanted to keep the conversation alive and remember the legacies of those who sacrificed everything over a cup of coffee, because we can't change the past, but we don't want to lose the future. We don't want to lose their memories. We don't want to forget what it takes to have freedom. We don't want to forget what it takes to be the land of opportunity and to move forward. And for me, you know, to move forward, we have to persevere.
Right.
And so it's really aligned with my own internal mission now. And so what we're doing is we're keeping the conversation alive. And right now we're really focusing on the stories of people like Ryan Job. He was part of Task Force Bruiser. His dad, Eric, is one of my dearest friends. And I have learned so much about perseverance from Eric, from Ryan and his stories. You know, Neil Roberts was one of Tim's best friends, and you know, hearing about what he represented and his story and all of them. I could say so many names. But it's also not just the SEAL community. It's my brothers that flew Apaches. My best friend, Ryan Conley.
Yeah.
You know, that guy gave everything for me to live my life the best I can. And so I'm not going to limit myself. I'm going to shoot for the stars. I'm not going to quit. And I'm going to continue to persevere, because I know that whatever challenge I'm faced with, I can overcome. And so that's where I'm at right now. And so it's a startup. We're just gaining our feet. If you'd love to check us out, we hope you will go to our BoneFrog-Coffee website. And it's a company with a purpose. It's a product with a purpose. And that purpose is honoring those who have sacrificed everything for us by being the best we can today and tomorrow. And you know, yeah, just I love it. It's everything that I've wanted, because you know, it doesn't matter if you've been to combat or not. You know, persevering. Every person has a challenge in life. They're gonna have struggles. You're gonna face struggles. It's a reality of living. And the reality is that we can let that struggle define us. We can let that struggle limit us. We can let that struggle be our narrative, or we can persevere over that struggle. We can learn from that struggle. We can take that and make it something greater. Because two things happen. One is you gain confidence in yourself through persevering. You gain hope. You know, you gain hope. For me, I gain hope in Christ, because I know that I'm going through that struggle for a reason. And that reason is for me to learn. But the reality is you're going to learn something, you're going to gain confidence, and you're going to gain hope. And then you gain that self, you know, you gain that for yourself. But then the cool thing is that you know somebody else is going through that struggle. So now you can reflect that positive light into somebody who's dwelling in darkness. And you can show them that there is hope. Hey, my struggles, and trust me, I got a list of them. It wasn't easy. It kicked my butt at times, you know, and especially the war that I have going on up here at times. It rocks me. But the reality is it doesn't define me.
Come on.
I can overcome anything. And being able to show that, being able to reflect that, being able to live that, has been the greatest gift I've ever been given. It's allowed me to surround myself with people that are like-minded, that persevere through their challenges and are living life the way they want to, and are able to achieve things they never thought possible, like being a high school student with a 1.9 GPA that ends up flying that helicopter. You know, it's these type of things that we realize that, you know what, that we can accomplish anything if we decide we want to. And so my whole goal is to link arms with people and
Yeah,
we all rise together. I love this, you know, way of life. I love that. I mean, it brings so much energy into my day.
yeah,
It's like
yeah.
I wake up and I'm like, yes, I've got another day. I've got
Mm,
another day to take a step forward. And I know no matter
mm,
what happens, I'm going to win.
mm. So let me ask you a question, man. I'm trying to maintain my professionalism, and I'm trying. I'm sitting here like in a cage, like John, but I can't do that because that will look unprofessional. So I'm trying not to do that. I'm trying my best not to, but man, you got me fired up. So I like to ask a question before I pass it to my son.
Of course.
I know for a fact Joe didn't get in that seat by himself. You mentioned several names. You talked about your parents. You talked about other people in your life. But it doesn't have to be one. Name some mentors in anywhere that made you just believe, you know what, man, thank you for coming my way. Because I got those people in my life too, you know, the Mike Jeffersons and the Claude Higgs and the Dudley Carsons and people that helped me along the way. And I still, some of them, a couple of those guys I just named are going on to be with the Lord, dead and gone. But I know had my path not linked up with theirs, I don't know which way I would have gone. So talk about some of the mentors that'll help you if you don't mind.
Absolutely. You know, first and foremost, there are so many. I'm so blessed with the people I know. But Jimmy Brooks, CW5, he was the one that really brought me into the Bible, brought me into the Lord when I was going through some hard times. He was also the best pilot I've ever flown with. This guy is a legend in the community. He just left being the standardization pilot over in Europe. You know, I mentioned General Bell. That guy, you know, I just got to observe him more, but as a young kid, that guy showed me the professionalism. That guy showed me what it took to be a strategist. Ryan Conley, my best friend, that guy taught me how to live. That guy taught me how to enjoy the moment. And then Jeff Horn, General Jeff Horn, is one of my best friends now. Buzz Leonard, Tim Kirkshank, Pat Crosby, boy, who else? Bob Dees, Alan Long. He was the professor that showed me how to create a company, and that guy is just amazing. Tim He, again, my girlfriend Suli, my, you know, let's see here, so many people.
So
One thing I will say though,
it's amazing listening to you because I know you got a lot of names. You'll probably forget some, and I get that. I get that too because it's like an off the cuff question. But I always like to tell people, if no one makes it to the top of the mountain alone, when I hear the term self-made millionaire, self-made this, it makes me want to puke. I'm gonna be honest with you. You know, because it's no such thing as self-made, blah, blah, blah. No one makes it by themselves in this world, you know, no one. And listening to you, I can tell you're very grateful for the people that have helped.
Yeah, I love my life. I am so grateful for the life I have. With that, those are my friends. That's living in this community, this brotherhood that meets every Tuesday, meets every Saturday, and having these friends that just impart wisdom, impart inspiration, empower me to take my steps forward. And I know they have my back. Life alone sucks. Life in isolation is not fun. I tried it for a bit. You know, when I got out of the military, I really isolated for a couple years, and that hurt. You know, I thought I was, you know, doing the right thing and protecting people. You know, I was playing my own negative tapes again. But the reality is that To be able to have the friends I have is one of the greatest gifts God has ever given me. And if you are in the Washington area and you want to look up the Holy Smokes Treehouse, you're invited. And it's a bunch of guys that we get together and have real conversations, and we get together and we come together and just are able to support each other like we did back in the military. And
Wow.
it's one of the best things I've found outside of the team that I served with in the military. So
Wow, that's phenomenal. I'm gonna
yeah,
let my son jump in and ask you a couple of questions, and
absolutely.
I'm gonna listen in.
Well, Joe, man, it's been awesome to hear about what you've been doing and what you guys are doing with BoneForg Coffee. I mean, I'm really impressed. It's
Thank you.
cool to see, like, yeah, organization raising funds, supporting great organizations and great groups of people and our heroes, right? I mean, what we do with Champions for Veterans is, we're helping veterans and we're supporting homeless vets with our program and just really, trying to help as many vets get the benefits they deserve.
Good for you. That is first and foremost. Thank you,
Yeah,
because the reality is there's people in our community that are struggling, that are on hard times. They didn't want to get there, I'm sure, but
yeah,
they're there, and to help them do that, help them persevere, encourage them, empower them to take those steps forward.
yeah.
Right there, just thank you, because that is, I can't tell you how much that means to me,
Mhm.
because it's those type of people, it's you that we need in our communities, because you know how to persevere and you're able to teach people how to persevere, and that's how we get our communities to start taking steps forward together. And I can't tell you how much I am grateful for hearing those type of stories. I just love what you guys are doing.
It's a blessing. It's definitely a blessing to be a part of, and thanks to you. Thank to you for what you're doing to help the community as well. I mean, you guys are changing lives. It's cool to be a part of something that's changing lives
It
and
is.
bringing people together, because it's awesome to be a part of the veteran community and see it. And honored to be on this call with you. I got a few questions for you, but I want to make sure you don't have a hard stop at the top of the hour, because we may go over a little bit. Okay, because
I'm
you talked about a few things. I really want to go back and rehash out a little bit. But one of the first things you mentioned was facing your fears
Yeah.
and persevering, overcoming. And I can just see that throughout your life, like just working hard, persevering through everything that you've gone through, dyslexia and all of that. Like what's some advice you would give to somebody who's just trying to persevere, whatever it may be, whether it's dyslexia or trying to face their fears? Like what do you tell people?
Oh, you know, growing up, I always wanted to be brave. I really did. I thought I was, I tried rock climbing, and my knees would start shaking when I'm 5 feet off the ground. And growing up in Colorado, you got the mountains, and I love the mountains, but at the same time, I was scared of the mountains. Um, and that defined me.
Yeah.
That limited what I did. That really took away from me at those moments.
Mhm.
And to truly live, to truly experience life, to truly gain that deeper purpose, that deeper desire,
Mhm.
you have to face your fear.
Mhm.
And I don't know, we all define our fears differently. Mine are heights, mine are myself at times, mine are success, mine are it's a myriad of different things that have caused fear. But to face it, to truly face it, to see it, to understand it, to recognize it and how it's impacting you and not run from it, that's bravery. And it takes courage to do that.
Mhm.
It takes courage to look in the mirror and say, what abnormal coping skills have I created that are hurting those around me?
Mhm.
What am I doing that is hurting myself?
Mhm.
And to truly have that conversation, it's hard. Trust me, I ran from that conversation for a long time.
Mhm.
But the reality is when I finally looked and I finally said no more, and I faced it, my life has been 100 times better. And it's truly one of the coolest experiences, because that's where perseverance starts.
Yeah. Wow. That's powerful. I love what you said about being brave. You know, it's not like nobody has fear. We all have some kind of a fear,
Yeah.
but courage is when you face that fear, you overcome it, and
Mhm.
you got to face it. When you said you help people persevere, like how are you doing that right now? I know you've mentioned some ways that you've been able to just encourage people. How are you helping other people persevere in their lives?
You know, I tell them my story. There's a lot to my story. A lot of details to it, and in that, there are places people connect and relate to. It might be depression, it might be anxiety, it might be afraid of heights, or struggling in school.
Yeah.
And I typically, they'll be brought to me, and we'll have real conversations. I'm
Mhm.
empathetic. I recognize that what they're going through isn't easy, and I'll link arms with them.
Mhm.
And what we do is we try to find victories. There was a point in my life where just making my bed in the morning was my victory.
Mhm.
And that was my one victory for the day. And what I knew is that no matter what happened for the rest of the day, I had that. And you can't take that away. And it's not hard. It only takes, a minute or two. And the reality is that was the victory that was my foundation to take a step forward.
Mhm.
And it's those type of small victories, getting up on time, taking a shower and getting yourself ready. And you start lining these small victories up. As I said, it's like lining up all the small bricks in the pyramid. If you want to create a pyramid, well, it starts with that foundational brick, and
Yeah.
then you just start getting these other ones. It's going to school. It's finding that thing about me that I wanted to change and working on that. And so when I'm working with somebody, is I'll identify, okay, what's the one victory that you can do regardless of what happens every single day, that
Mhm.
you can, no matter what else happens, you can go back to and say, I had this, I won here, and I can start tomorrow with this. And so that's where we start. And I ask them, you know same hard question that I had asked myself when I was 5: is this where I really wanted to be? When I dreamed as a kid of whatever I dreamed of, was this really, part of that definition? Because if it's not, then why?
Mhm.
Where are we missing? What's going on? What habits have we created? What struggles are defining us and not allowing us to live that life that we hoped for, that life we dreamed of?
Mhm.
I'm reading still isn't easy for me. I'll tell you right now, I'm probably the slowest reader there is. It takes me a while,
Mhm.
but I just got through my educational program because I found different ways to learn the material in that textbook. We have lots of resources. We have lots of people who want to help me persevere. Now it's up to me to persevere.
Yeah.
I'm the one who gets to choose if I persevere or don't. They're not going to be able to persevere for me. And if I ever expect them to persevere for me, well, I'm already in a losing battle.
Yeah.
And so, it was one of those ones, okay, I got to dig deep, and I've got to grind this out. I might have to read longer than everybody else, but I'm gonna read it. And so that's what we walk to. And every person is different. Every person's struggle is their challenge. It's their story. But I link arms with them, and I try to be an encourager. I
Mhm.
try to be a creative problem solver for them. Like, hey, have we thought of this way? Have we thought of this way? Have we thought of that?
Mhm.
And for that, I don't leave them.
Yeah.
I got their back.
You
And
know,
and
let me let
yeah,
me jump in real quick. I want to just jump in one thing and hit on what you just said, man, because you're giving out so much great information. Thank you for being so vulnerable on the call. You know,
absolutely.
you remind me of me in so many ways. I wasn't a great student. I learned to study in the military
Mhm.
and in the Special Forces qualification course. I'm SF weapons, and when you got to learn 50 pistols, 50 rifles, and the stuff you got to learn is so crazy. And I remember making 3x5 cards to go through,
Oh.
so I could get all this information because I'm like, how am I going to learn all this to pass this exam? And you got some guys I can remember. I had to learn not to put myself like with everybody else, but some guys could sit in the class and get it and go, hey, let's go to the club tonight. And I was not that guy. I was like, me and one of my buddies, hey, I got to go study. You guys can go to the club. You can do whatever. Oh, man, it's easy. We got it. And I couldn't, it wasn't high school, and I couldn't go, yeah, I got it too, guys. Let's go to the club. No, I'm going to eat chow. I'm going to work out. I'm going back to my room, and I'm studying for 2 hours tonight. And then I'm going to get up early in the morning and study for another hour tomorrow morning. And that is literally the only way I made it through the Special Forces qualification course. You know, I would not have made it trying to do like some of those guys. Maybe they were like my son that was always the first one through the test and got it. And you felt bad because you're the last guy sitting. I was always the last guy on all those exams. 30 people in the class, I'm sitting there, everybody's turning their work in, and I'm the last guy, me and another guy. But guess what? I had a high average and passed. I'm listening to you, Joe, and I'm like, if this guy doesn't sound like me, like, what you learned was what works for you. And it's great having you tell your story. Sorry for coming in like that. I'm like, this guy, man, the information you're dropping is incredible.
Thank you. It's kind of like flight school. I didn't know how to study in flight school. And so what I did is I literally, a -10 is like this thick, and I would write it out word for word, just write it out every page, write. And when I'd get to the end of the -10, I'd flip it back over and I'd start writing it out again. And I'd start writing every word out again. And I just did it over and over and over and over. And so that's how I was able to ingrain it in here, because when they'd ask a question, I'd remember what I was writing. And that was what it took. That's what it took in college as well. I wasn't the kid who could, I'm with these 18-year-olds that just, picking all this information up. And I would go and I would have to study, and I'd have to turn it into context that I understood. And so, it takes work, to become right now with what I'm doing with BoneForg. It's work. I'm working long hours. I'm working, 7 days a week. But the reality is what I want to become, what I want to achieve in my life requires that. It's not going to be handed to me. And so I have to persevere. And what I've realized is in this, in the hard work, in the times that I do take and have fun, with my friends or family or girlfriend, I enjoy it all. I love the journey. I love the moment I'm in right now, chatting with two brilliant men that understand the power of perseverance, that understand that they can, you can accomplish anything. You can do what you want to. And really, I love this. I love this moment. I'm so grateful for it, and I reflect back on my life, and it wasn't easy. But at the same time, I am so grateful for it, because it's what's made me me. And I know that the best is yet to come.
Awesome. Man, Joe, I love it. And you're definitely a man on fire. And I want to go ahead and just let you kind of spend a little bit more time on just what you guys are doing at BoneForg, what you do at BoneForg specifically, and then what you guys are doing for the community and your products and all of that. Give us some.
Definitely. Our products are, we got 4 coffee blends. Actually, first, let's say it like this. To honor the best, to honor the fallen, we needed to partner with the best. And so we partnered with the founder of Seattle's Best, Dave Stewart. He's a legend in the coffee industry, because the reality is if we're going to honor the fallen, there's no skimping. There's no, cutting corners, because the reality is those individuals gave everything. They did. They're the reasons that we have what we have today. They're the reasons that we have the hope we have today. They're the reasons, you know, that we can even talk about freedom, and we can even take the steps forward for a better tomorrow.
Mhm.
And and so for us, we take that extremely seriously. I mean, we're representing people that I personally know and love
Mm.
more than I can explain. And so for this company, everything has to be excellent. Now we're humans, and we we have challenges, but at the same time, every day we're taking steps forward to become better. So we have an incredible coffee product, uh, 4 blends. Our signature is BoneFrog. Uh, our dark roast is Frogman to honor the World War II UDT members. Our Zen Frog is our light roast, which is to honor the Vietnam SEAL members, UDT team members. And then we have Sons of Valor, which is a partnership bag with the authors Andrews and Wilson. And we're currently also coming up with another dark roast called the Bruiser, which is to honor those, you know, Chris Kyle, Jocko Willink. The bag will have Ryan Job's story on it. And then we're coming up with a decaf as well. Each bag, uh, each bag is designed for that conversation. To a conversation where we recognize what it took to have this cup of coffee, to recognize what it took for us to have this conversation, to be where we are at that moment.
Mm.
And through those conversations, we want the memories of our friends, of the fallen, every name on a wall to be a part of it.
Mhm.
We want to honor them to the best of our ability. And the way that we honor them is through helping people persevere.
Mhm.
We have different ways of doing that. Obviously, you know, we're giving every purchase has a portion going to a different SEAL foundation, from the SEAL Fund to the SEAL Foundation, to a couple other organizations. And right now, we are focused on the teams. We're looking at expanding that. Obviously, we want to get into the other special operatives, special operations communities. We want to get into the aviation communities. We want to get into the infantry, the Marines. You know, all these different communities, because there are a lot of families that are still um, dealing with the challenges of that sacrifice, and we want to help them in any way we can. We want to help them take the next steps forward. We want to help them overcome the challenges that they're facing and take the light challenges, you know, financial, different things like that off their plate, so that they can honor the loved ones, the family member that gave everything. Um, the other thing is that we've created an incredible team that is very veteran focused. You know, obviously veteran owned company, veteran focused company, that also goes into the community, the Seattle community, and helps. Tim does a lot on his own. I do a lot of on my own, and we have a group of friends that we're sitting here. You know, when we meet a veteran, we walk with them. We bring them to our group. We show them that there's hope. We show them that there's opportunity. You know, we try to take care of the immediate needs so that we can start having the real conversations and help them take the next steps forward to a better tomorrow. So it's it's personal missions. Every person in the team has a personal mission to help a veteran, help a person who's struggling. Um, yeah, and so it's a company with a purpose, and I'm so blessed to be a part of it.
That's awesome. That's awesome. You know, one thing, you know, you're a man of faith, man, and you know,
Oh yeah.
we're both Christians, and you know, I thought about a scripture that kind of brought me back to what you were saying. There's no temptation that you know you see us except that which is common to man, and you know, you guys see a need that so many service members and veterans have, these families, to be inspired to persevere, to make it through life, to really go through the challenges. And you guys are making a difference in those lives by getting them through that challenge. So, man,
I'm glad to hear that, because, you know, for me, my scripture is Genesis 50:20. It's this is the one that really helped me start to understand the challenges I went through before.
Yeah.
It was a pivotal moment in my life. And George Tolles, who I forgot to mention, is a huge influencer in my life. And it goes, Joseph's talking to his brothers. This is after Jacob passed, their dad passed. And he goes, "You intended to harm me, but God had a different plan, which is happening now, and it's the saving of many lives."
Mm.
And what I realized is that those challenges that I was going through, those challenges that I didn't understand, those challenges that I was screaming at him for putting me in, were for a reason.
Mm.
And I was meant to learn from them.
Mm.
I was meant to persevere from them. I was meant to gain confidence from them. And I was meant to gain hope in him, because the next time I face that challenge, it's for a reason. And that reason is the saving of many lives, because we're in this together. We are in this together, and we need to link arms together and move forward together if we're ever going to get anywhere. And it's not about me. It's about us. It's about the team. It's about America. And it's about being better tomorrow than we are today. And it's about us all coming together and having grace and mercy and love and hope and faith and love. It's the most important out of all of that.
Mm-hmm.
And that means that I need to understand the terms that you define love as, not the terms that I define love as. I mean, I know how I define love. And who knows, maybe, you know, it's one of those things. I want to define your terms in those ways, but that's the reality is that's not meeting you where you're at. That's not loving my brother as myself.
Mm-hmm.
And so by learning the way you define love and learning how you define your reality, I can then go in and I can say, okay, this is what you need in these terms. And it's made all the difference. You know,
Mm-hmm.
my path is not mine. God gave it to me.
Mm-hmm.
And it's the best. It's amazing. And I can't wait to give him a hug for this incredible life where I get to persevere, where I get to become something that I never thought I could be, where I get to shoot for the stars.
Wow. Amen to that. Got nothing else to add. Joe, man, it's been such an awesome conversation, sir. Thank you so much for what you've been sharing. We always love to end these interviews with one final question, and I feel like you've already answered the question over and beyond. But just to kind of put the nail in the coffin, get that final period on it. You know, when your life is over, what do you want people to remember you for?
Yeah, and that's a great question, because I want to be known as the person who shot for the stars and was able to persevere on the journey to get there.
Awesome.
And yeah, I just, perseverance is my watchword. Perseverance is everything to me, because in perseverance, there's hope. And I want the world to hope again.
Wow. Wow. All right. Thanks again, Joe. I let my dad go ahead. Oh, amen. Same here, sir. Same here. I let my dad go ahead and close us out.
Everybody, we've had a phenomenal talk today in Convos with Heroes with the great American hero. Joe has brought us the word of God. He's man praised. He's told great stories about his friends and also his company. We're so excited to have you. But this is Ranger Johnson. You know how I got to finish this call. I'm telling you to stay in the fight.